I've been through a business divorce with my dad, family divorce with my parents, cancer in our family multiple times. In 2022, I woke up, I looked in the mirror one day and I said, dude, you're an alcoholic. Like, you're drinking every single day. Like, you don't need a doctor to tell you you have a drinking problem. I looked in the mirror and I just said, what are you doing? Yeah, well, I mean, first, I'm a dad of 3 boys. I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then we have a 3-month-old. So life is crazy outside of work. I feel like the residential real estate business and growing a real estate company prepares you for some of that craziness, because, you know, you just deal with everything in this business. But that's my first priority, really enjoying this phase of my life. When I started in real estate, my wife and I, Kathy, did not have any kids. I could run 1,000 miles per hour. And extremely gifted to have Kathy because she never put parameters on, you know, the hours that I worked or my work ethic. And she always allowed me to take all the risks that I wanted to take for our family. So, you know, before we had kids, I was in real estate. I got in 2016. And it was really kind of by default, to be honest. I'm the son of a realtor. Steve Pemberton is my dad. I always thought I never wanted to get in the business. In fact, I tried hard not to get into the business. That started in college. I went to college for business communications. I went to the University of New Mexico on a golf scholarship, which was really like the first 25 years of my life was all golf. I know I went to school, but I was at school to play golf. And golf has a very meaningful part of my journey because you can learn so much from the game itself, from yourself, the way that you compete, the way that you grow and learn. I think one of the biggest things is that in golf, it's very similar to business where every single day you wake up, you have a new opportunity to succeed. You know, whatever you did the previous day,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Even down to the shot, right? If you think about like a par 4, you hit your drive. Well, if you're in the rough, you have another opportunity to hit the green. If you hit the green, you have an opportunity to make a birdie putt. So there's a lot of similarities there that I draw off of from those 25 years. It ended at 25 because just quite honestly, I wasn't good enough to make it to the tour. I went to Q school multiple times and just didn't.
What's Q school?
Q school is the qualifying school to get to the PGA Tour.
Okay.
And I was highly trained. I mean, New Mexico is a Division I school. We were top 10 in the country. I was, you know, one of the best at the school at the time. And I got, you know, up there. I got real close, but I didn't get there.
How was that?
I mean, it's difficult because you have to change your identity when you move out of something like that, right? Golf all of a sudden at 25 years old was over. And then you have to move on. You have to say, well, who is Parker Pemberton? Who is the next version of what I'm, you know?
Yeah.
And I never had a boss. And to this day, I've actually never had a boss. I've never been an employee of anybody. So I just went back to my roots, which was mowing lawns. Like I used to go door to door as a kid all around Apple Valley and just knock on doors and say, can I mow your lawn? And it was $10. It was $15. And, you know, here I am 25 years old and I'm like, I gotta make some money. What that ended up morphing into was a residential landscaping company called Go-To Guys. Started it out of the office of one of my friends' houses and built it up to multiple hundreds of accounts. We did snow removal, landscaping, and lawn care. And, you know, really that's it's probably the second chapter of my life and how I transitioned into real estate, because I learned sales. I learned discomfort. I learned rejection. I learned how to service a client, provide a great experience to them, get referrals from their neighbors, get online reviews, build up my reputation. And by doing that, your business grows. And by the way, all those things I just mentioned work really well in real estate too. And so I guess the third chapter was, I'm sitting there with my wife one winter. We had made about 50 grand that year. We had 500 some lawn accounts, a bunch of guys working for us, 7 or 8 different trucks running around town. And I'm like, is this what I want for the rest of my life? And the answer was no. And so
a lot of work for 50 grand, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually one of the biggest lessons I learned there was that I was trying to do it all myself. I was mowing, I was selling, I was doing the paperwork, I was doing the books, I was leading, I was holding people accountable. I never stepped out of that role of doing everything, wearing all the hats, to start hiring and delegating those roles out. And And I learned a very valuable lesson that you just simply will hit the wall at some point unless you start hiring great people. And so I went to my dad. I was 30 years old. I was 29 years old. And I said, hey, I think I'm going to get into real estate. Like, I think I can maybe make more than 50 grand selling homes. And I scheduled my test on my 30th birthday, which was March 22nd. Passed the test. All of a sudden, I'm a realtor. So now we're into the real estate. This is 2016. My dad and I are running parallel businesses, and he just says, hey, here's this old list of leads. He just handed me this stack of papers.
How long has your dad been a realtor?
My dad has been in the business for 44 years, I believe, at this point.
Was he like, so I don't know much about him. So
Yeah.
was he like big time realtor? Was he kind of like, good, like, what was his story? So,
Well, like in the 90s, he had one of those car phones that had a swivel line coming out of it that was connected to his dash.
yeah.
So I get, that makes you a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah. That alone was so cool back then.
Yeah.
Push the little button and, yeah.
No, to his credit, he sold a ton of homes, dominated Apple Valley in the South Metro, south of the river, provided a great life for our family.
Yeah.
And I think did the best he could.
Yeah.
So when I got in the business and joined him,
So for that, for sales side, you had someone showing you that knew what they were doing.
yeah. And the way that I like to describe it is that it's like bowling with our kids when you put the bumpers up.
Yeah.
Kids can chuck that ball down the lane as fast as they want. It's never going to go in the gutter because you've got the gutter guards up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had, between him and the office manager, I had kind of the gutter guards up at all times. And so I could go and run as fast as I wanted in real estate. And if I had a question with something or I needed somebody to come in and help with the deal or save the deal, I had that, which is super valuable. I think a lot of people get in this business and, they're sitting in their basement or they're sitting in their living room and they run into an issue and they don't have anybody to help them. Real estate is a very independent business, which is also why 82% of the time realtors fail in their first year.
Mm-hmm. That's normal, actually.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
really, like realtors starting, it's normal that like you're just alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the background, I had this trait that was deep ingrained in me, which was, it was urgency. It was the work ethic. It was the, from what my dad showed me, the desire to live a great lifestyle. And those three things combined pushed me to do some things in real estate that, others just don't have the stomach to do. And it takes a level of work ethic to do it that most can't sustain. And I'm lucky that I'm just the person that I am, that I have those internal driving factors. And I have that urgency to do it. I mean, there's some days, actually, this conference room table reminds me a lot of the Apple Valley Coldwell Banker conference room table because I slept under it a couple nights. Like I was at the office so late.
Really?
Just designing systems, creating autoresponders, working on my text follow-ups, like running smart lists through the CRM, like those type of things. And all of a sudden you check your watch and you're like, it's 11 o'clock. And I'm like, hey, honey, I got appointments tomorrow at 7. Like there was literally times where I slept under the conference room table because it's dark under there, right?
Yeah.
Better than just like sleeping in the middle of the room.
That's crazy.
And that was not forced on me. It wasn't anything that, that I even had to do. It just, I wanted to do it because I was so passionate about building the building blocks of the business early on. And I like to tell people, building a real estate company is a lot easier once the foundation has been built. What most people do is they actually skip those foundational steps and they just go straight into hardcore sales. And you can do that, but at some point you're going to have to take a step backwards and start building the blocks or building the foundation again. And so for now 9 years, going on 9 years, we've been building Pemberton Homes to where it is today.
Where are you today? How many agents are on your team?
As of today, we have 122 agents.
Okay.
I like to say, and we're brokered by EXP. We've been with EXP since 2018, which has been a very important partnership to us and to building what we've built.
Yeah, they're super pro team. Not every brokerage is.
Very supportive, yeah,
Right.
very independent. Yeah. And really what it is it's a partnership from a brokerage standpoint where I can alleviate all the broker responsibilities so that I can continue to lead and inspire people and build a real estate company without having to take a step backwards to be the broker, to deal with compliance, to deal with lawsuits, all of the things that brokers do, right? Being a broker, a lot of times is a loss. I mean, that's why broke is in the word broker.
Yeah.
If you think about it, independent brokerages, a lot of brokerages in general just are running on razor thin margins. And it's because you have to do so many of the things. So when the opportunity for EXP came around, I saw this as an opportunity to say, hey, this is really a true partnership from a brokerage perspective. This allows me to continue to run as fast as we can. So as of today, 122 agents.
What kind of volume do you think you guys will close this year?
Well, I know we'll close 450 million in volume.
Okay. Does that put you number one spot right now in Minnesota?
Well, I don't have a peek inside of other people's businesses.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's going to be pretty close.
Sure.
And we'll see. I mean,
How about EXP nationally? Are you ranked nationally there?
Yeah. We're the number one for homes sold at EXP nationally.
You are? I didn't even know that. I'm over here.
In the country. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've closed, as of this podcast, 1,100 homes this year.
Okay. What an amazing run. So like if we backtrack, do you remember when you hired your first agent?
Of course.
Yeah. When was that?
I remember every single person, every single staff member.
Yeah.
That was in 2018.
Okay. So you did. So for people listening, if they're interested in building a team or being a part of it, this is only 6 years. Right. Did you have that vision back in 18 to now? Like, were you going there or did it just happen?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I had this interesting perspective coming into it, which was I had a father who was a real estate agent and who had shown me what a life of being a real estate agent was and what it could be. And all of the things that come along with that too, right? There's a lot of positives. There's also a ton of negatives. And so when I had the opportunity and I started to become successful at selling, I said, do I want to go down the same path as him? Or do I want to go this other path and build a real estate company for the next 30 years? So I had perspective coming in, which I think is a huge advantage. Yes, I did take action on that. Yes, I did implement, the model and change the model and morph that into what it is today. But I just said, hey, if we're going to be in this business for 30 years, let's build something great and let's give it everything that we've got. And at the end of it, that entity is worth something. If you're an independent agent, the day you stop selling real estate, you're done making money. Now with my 3 boys, we talk about all the time, like, hey, if God willing, if this goes the distance, either the boys can step in and take it to the next level, or we can do something else with it. And at the end of the day, every hour that you work, you're building equity in yourself. You're building equity in your business. It's worth something. And that is what I'm chasing all the time.
Mm-hmm. Which is totally unique compared to the typical realtor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
A typical realtor is like, how can I sell 20 houses a year and provide for my family? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we look like a brokerage, right? We're the size of most offices, 122 agents, right?
Yeah. Independent office space, right?
Yeah. We have
own a commercial building.
Yeah.
Right.
We have 3 actually. We're over here in Bielenberg with you guys.
Okay.
Right on the
You're right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
On like flip side of the parking lot, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're in Woodbury, we're in Edina, which is our headquarters, and then we have an office in Maple Grove.
Yep.
And we're opening in St. Cloud later this month too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So you run 100 agents out of one office, it's a lot.
Sure.
And then when you're able to expand out, we can take our model to other markets and grow our market share there too.
Mm-hmm. I think you're doing what so many people strive to do, but they lack the vision and structure to be able to actually effectively do it. They might be a really great salesman themselves, but they might be kind of a Michael Jordan, right? Whereas, do they have the leadership side of things to be able to say, I'm going to step back on production because you don't sell anymore?
No.
Right? To be able to say, I'm going to step back from production and just focus on growth.
Mm-hmm.
Growth, retention, and I'm guessing probably profitability.
Yeah.
Kind of 3 things, for you. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the unique thing about us is that we're running a brokerage, but we're running it we keep 31 cents on the dollar. So unlike a brokerage running on razor thin margins, we have an enormous amount of money that we can use to continue to build the company.
Yeah.
And so we look like a brokerage, but we act and we feel like a team. And so we have a model that is a team structure that allows you to earn all the way up to the top of the commission brackets in real estate, but it comes with all of the value and the services that agents need to leverage themselves. And so somebody can come into our system, quite literally go sell homes, and all of the back end stuff is taken care of for them.
Like transaction support?
Yeah. So internally, this is the unique thing about Pemberton Homes, and we've been building for 9 years. We own a transaction department in office. We have a listing department. We have a marketing department. We also have a media company. So we do all of our internal photography, videography, everything to service listings is all done by W-2 employees from Pemberton Homes. So we control that entire thing. We also have field services, and we have several other tack-on services too.
What's field services? What does that mean?
A department that literally will go out and show homes, help agents show homes. They will clear out the garage of a home that needs the couch removed. Like, we have moving trucks at our company that our clients can use, and our agents can take those over to the house and, get that shit out of the house at the last second.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just things that agents need to have that when they're in a pinch, they usually have to, take their own time to go do.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we own those services, agents can choose if they want to use them or not. And the whole foundation at our company is we want to lead and inspire agents to be better people and sell more homes. And that ultimately is our mission. My mission is this. And I think a lot of people don't have missions. And it's a way, one of my coaches told me that when you run into hardship or just a fork in the road, you come back to the reason why you're doing things. And that will typically lead you down the path that you need to go. And so since the beginning, my mission is I want to help as many people buy or sell real estate as possible. And I want to lead and inspire agents to be better versions of themselves, to become better agents.
So you're coaching them, correct? Do you have like a one-on-one coaching program within your team?
Yeah.
Is there anything like that?
Yeah, of course. We have a whole training department. Most of the agents that are joining us have been in the business for at least a couple of years. They're more experienced agents. We do take new agents, but we're just picky about who we take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen quite a few that I know of in the East Metro that are more experienced agents. Either they're independent or on a different team.
Yep.
And they'd like to be able to go over it. And then what I think is kind of cool is like they have their own brand under Pemberton brand.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I think have I always questioned that. Like, it's like if you're an independent agent and you run all of your own leads in your own business, you got someone else's, like a team brand on top. Do you get what I mean? Like, brand you, because that's what drives the leads.
100%. Well, here's the deal. We'll sell 1,200 houses this year, 1,250 houses this year. We will only have 0.7% market share in the Twin Cities in our North Star MLS.
Yeah.
That is enormous opportunity to continue to grow. But also it shows us that we're really not that big of a deal. Like, if you really think about it. And so when you look at what is important to realtors, their identity is huge. Their identity is how they go and get the business from their clients. Our identity is how we get the best agents to join our company. And so why not give them independence? Why not put their faces on the real estate signs? Why not have a your listing, your lead program? Our agents, if they list a home that comes from us or from them, their phone number goes on the sign, their face is on the sign. If they get a lead from that sign or a sign call, it's considered their own personal deal. Because at the end of the day, when you see this around town, but you take those agent sales and then they leave your company, they go somewhere else. They don't have any sales to show for their hard work. Mm-hmm. Here, we're trying to build those agents up, because when we can help people grow, they stay with us. Mm-hmm. And then they go and tell other great agents, this is our experience. And at the end of the day, I've positioned myself in a way where I'm 100% incentivized to help everybody else, because I don't sell. And by the way, disclaimer, I do sell. I sell 4 to 5 homes a year. It's not my focus anymore. Yeah. My focus is trying to build up the agents and help them become more successful.
Yeah. So hearing this from the outside, hearing 450 million, which is crazy and amazing. Can you give me some examples of some stumbles that you guys have had along the way? Right. Because sometimes from the outside, you just hear this massive growth. Oh, it's gone all perfect.
Yeah.
He's had no problems. Right. So lucky. Right.
Yeah.
Like it all works out that way. Have you had some failures that you've really learned from?
Yeah. And you and I both know that the people at the top are the ones that go through the most failures. They're the ones that go through the hardest things.
Yeah. Most rejection by far.
And they're tested.
Yeah.
It takes everything inside of you not to quit, right? Because when other people get to those points, they quit. So yes, of course, I've been through a business divorce with my dad. I've been through family divorce with my parents. We've had cancer in our family multiple times. In 2022, I woke up, I looked in the mirror one day and I said, dude, you're an alcoholic. Like, you're drinking every single day. Like, you don't need a doctor to tell you you have a drinking problem. I looked in the mirror and I just said, what are you doing?
So you're drinking every day, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I would say out of 30 days, it was probably 28 days a month.
Oh.
And truly it's these days, it's almost a superpower because I don't drink anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't smoke. I don't wake up late. I don't go to happy hours. I don't eat out unless it's with my wife and my family. Like, I now live a lifestyle that is 100% around being a leader for the people around me, to show them the level of discipline that their leader needs to see. As cliche as that sounds, but it's also the number one thing for me to continue to stay down this path. I have 122 people that are holding me accountable every day. So I didn't go to treatment. I didn't get help. I just looked in the mirror and I said, dude, if you go down this path, you're going to become your dad, and that's not somebody that I wanted to become, to be honest with you. And so one of my coaches, John Cheplak, he said, well, what are the consequences of continuing to go down this path?
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a 6-month kind of evaluation process. But, what was going to happen, because if you're continuing to do those things that are harmful to you or your well-being, eventually you're going to run into some big problems. And it's either going to be work, or it's going to be personal, or it's going to be health, right? None of us are invincible. And he said, well, what are the consequences of going down this path, continue to go down this path? And I said, well, I could screw up my marriage. I could screw up my business that I've worked so hard for. But then the thing that really hit me was the fact that my 3 boys potentially could become 30-year-old men and say their dad never figured it out. Their dad never tried his hardest to be his best. And so it just literally struck me that day. And for 2 years, I haven't even touched it. I haven't even thought of it. I've dropped 50 pounds. I put a huge emphasis on health and nutrition and taking care of myself. And it bleeds into the company, which is the most beautiful thing. I mean, of course, the best part is that my kids get a fully present Parker. My wife gets a husband who is doing everything he can to, be his best. And no one's perfect, so let's just acknowledge that too. But it was a great lesson, and I honestly, I feel privileged to, as dumb as this sounds, I feel privileged to learn that at 35 years old versus at 70 years old. And
I quit drinking at 35 years old, just so you know.
Did you?
Yeah, so I've been drinking 10 years.
Wow, I didn't know that. We had encounter.
I quit a day before I got married, right? And my wife called me out for drinking too much. And then I made a decision that I'm going to quit drinking, and I would never be like the best version of myself being married.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember thinking in the moment, if I'm going to drink and do the things, it's 35, so I wasn't going crazy, but it's like sometimes things got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
And, but if it was going to get out of hand like that, I probably wouldn't have stayed married either, right? Make some sort of stupid decision when you're drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made that choice. It seemed like, just like you, there was no one to coach me through that. It was just a line in the sand, right, from this day forward, and I never drank since then.
I love that. And whoever's listening to this, I did not know that about you. Mm-hmm. And I respect that in people, because it's such a hard habit to kick. But there's this thing called AUD, alcohol use disorder. And I think it's very common in this business, lending, real estate. You're using the alcohol to cover up the stress or the anxiety. And it's a really hard business. Like, let's be honest, like, there's stress, and there's clients that are mad at you, and there's lawsuits, and it never stops. It's 24/7, right? And what is the easiest substance to get your hands on? Well, like, there's like 3 liquor stores before I even leave this parking lot.
And it's socially acceptable.
And it's socially acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so easy to be like, I'm going to a networking event, right? Like,
Totally.
Yeah. Happy hour networking. It's like, are you really networking? Right? Like,
yeah.
Or are you just there drinking? Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. And Yeah, I get it.
So what I love now is I love helping others discover these little things, right? Because, you know, it's your superpower too. And the reason why I say it's a superpower is that, you know, I wake up at the same time every single day. And yes, having little kids is, you know, it helps that, right? Because little kids get up at the same time every day too. But I'm no longer hungover. I'm no longer tired. Whether it's a Monday or a Sunday, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning doing something productive. And so you're always on offense. Like you're always making progress. And there's never a step backwards from like a health or a energy or a personal, you know, because if you're drinking, you go to one of these networking events, you say the wrong thing or you do the wrong thing or you put money in the wrong place, there is huge consequences. And for me, the consequences could be in the tens of millions of dollars if you look at over the course of a career. It could be the loss of a spouse. It could be, you know, the relationship with your kids. And the thing is I'll never tell somebody that they need to stop drinking, but I'll always be there for them if they want to talk about it. Yeah. So I don't force it on anybody. It's ever, you know, there's some people like my wife can have a glass and a half of wine and just not even desire having the second half of it or having the third glass. And, you know, I think there's some people, I kind of look at it like a light switch. It's either on or it's off. And for me, it was on. So after 2-3 beers, I'd want 10 more. Like, let's be honest. And I'm not ashamed to say it either, because I think it's a huge problem in society in general. Mm-hmm. It's an even bigger problem in real estate and mortgage. And if I can help some people, you know, grow and be better, like, dude, that's so much better than selling another house or selling 20 more houses. Like, I think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So speaking of problems, right now it's fall of 2024 right now. What are you seeing outside of realtors drinking too much? Like, what are you seeing? Like, what are the challenges that realtors, like all these realtors that you're overseeing, there's probably some rhythm and you're hearing some things, same things happen over and over again. What are realtors, what do they need help with right now? Is there a couple of things that are big challenges that are happening that you have to consistently coach them through right now?
Yeah, I think this has never gone away. This has always been the case because you're a 1099 real estate salesperson, right? So whatever you kill, you eat. And I think most people get in the business and they say, all right, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to start marketing myself. I'm going to play around with social media, and all of a sudden some business is going to fall out of the sky. Sure, if it's 2020 or 2021, right? I think the problem we're dealing with specifically right now is that we're still dealing with the overflow of poor activities from COVID and from the market when 7 million homes sold in 2021. And for reference, this year, 2024, we're probably going to have close to 3.9 to 4 million homes sold. So, you know, 35% reduction, but 7 million is not realistic. And so what happens is, if we look at the realtor pool in general, there's 1.6 million realtors in America. We're going to lose 100 every year, and we're going to gain 100 every year. And so if you think about it, it would take 16 years for those agents to fully switch over, right? And the agents from 16 years ago, you know this, they pounded the phones. They did open houses consistently. They called expired and canceled. You didn't have social media to market yourself. Like, you had to do the sales activities to go and find the business. And I think that the agents getting into the business now aren't being led properly to understand the activities that they need to do. So I think we have an activities problem right now. And from a leadership perspective, the number one thing is, how do you encourage and drive people to activities? How do we move people? Because people move production. And that's what we focus on. You know, how can we help agents be more motivated and more supported to do the activities necessary to have success? And the hardest part of this business is that when agents don't do the activities and they don't have success, because you can't personally save somebody. You can't force production, and you can't force behavioral change.
Yeah, that's why it's always so interesting to me, since I'm, 50% of my job is day-to-day working with agents or pursuing a new agent partnership to be able to help them with their clients. There is no one way. Well, like, when I'm looking at different agents, they could be the least skilled but the greatest prospector. Mm-hmm. Or some of the agents that you're like, this person's got it. they dress right, they talk right, and then they don't sell shit. Right. Where then it's like this person's a little rough around the edges, but they just get after it. Right. Like they know how to prospect, or they're learning or they're just trying. They're just calling a meeting with people and seeing what happens, and deals fall in their lap. It's just so interesting. Like there's not like a mold of an agent. Like it's like that internal drive in the person. And for you, it's probably just pulling that out then.
It is. It's really tying a result to an emotion. What emotion is going to move this person? Why are we doing what we're doing? What is the mission, right? And I help agents discover why they want to sell real estate. Real estate is really just a vehicle in your life. Like the actual selling of the real estate is just this vehicle to your success. The vehicle to the amount of money you need to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Right. And then, of course, we have to talk about retirement and all the other things that come with it, because most real estate agents don't have those type of things set up. So when we can reverse engineer the activities and agents have a very clear picture of what they need to do, then it's about execution. And what does your support system look like? What does your environment look like? Are you around other agents doing those activities? Because 82% of the time, realtors fail in their first year. And a lot of times it's because their environment's not correct. And what I would tell new agents, I would tell most agents this actually, unless you truly have that urgency factor and you can just go out and sell 50 homes a year and it's all internal, you should be a part of something bigger than just yourself. You should be a part of a group or an environment that's going to push you to be the better version of yourself.
It's just osmosis, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, so I would assume, do you guys have like accountability? Do you have like call sessions?
Yeah.
Like what do you do to encourage that?
Of course. Yeah. And we split our roster into thirds. So the top third, the middle third, and the bottom third. The bottom third are newer agents or agents that are struggling. Middle is really, we call it the meaty middle. These are the agents that sell 2-3 homes a month. They're doing great. They just aren't quite there to top performer status yet. And then the top performers are the ones doing 10 to 20 million in business plus. And so I take those agents and I really spend time with them because they're on our team for that reason. It's not because they need lead generation. It's not because they need help with writing contracts. They want leadership. And so we have systems and processes around me being involved in their lives, which is super important. So I spend a lot of my time on growth and retention. The middle is handled from our sales team. So sales managers, performance coaches. These are sometimes top agents that just want to pursue something that's more consistent or have more of a purpose in their life. It could be somebody that's been a lifetime performance coach in real estate. It could really vary, but the goal there is to spend as much time with them, helping them get up to the top tier. And then the bottom is like kind of the blocking and tackling of real estate. It's the nuts and the bolts, right? And it's the accountability is when the accountability is the heaviest at that point, because the bottom third of the roster is, they're the ones that need to earn their way up to the middle, or they're going to earn their way out of the business. And sometimes that's not bad.
In that group probably too, right?
Higher turnover. Yeah. And I will stand up in meetings and I'll say, look, if this is not the best environment for you, I will help you pursue either your next team or your next job. Because the last thing that I want is 3 months from now, you come to me and say you can't make a mortgage payment or you can't feed your kids. We're not letting that happen. If you run into a position where this isn't the right fit for you anymore, let me help you get to the next point. Because there's so many people too that just stay in the business because they want to have the title of realtor, or they're too prideful to actually go get a job. And I think if I can help more and more of those people better themselves.
You got to get a job. Like I had to, when I was building up, I bartended on the side. As I was building my database and building, towards something bigger, that's okay. Right? Like I think some people think that you have a little side gig, that's a bad thing. It's like, no, because it could prevent you from going into debt too, where as you build, it takes a while. Most people aren't rookie, like rock star, like first year, I closed 25 deals. That's not normal, right? Like if you close 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, like that's pretty great, right? It is. You can build off of that. That's the way I was. I did that in the first year, I closed 5 deals, man. My best 418 on my own. Andy Burton, 418, right? Like, so the first couple of years were no correlation to what my whole career looked like, right? Like it took a while. And some people give up before they get there, or they got to go under leadership. Like for me, I had to go work for someone else. Right, like I had to go from, I went from a little teeny brokerage with no, like when you're saying you're all on your own, and then a little bit better, where a little more hands-on, and then I went to a group of players. They were all together, right? Like everybody working together was doing lots of deals, so I got to learn from them. Like, and I think that's what happens with a lot of agents, or probably why they're joining you, is like just being around that osmosis of people that are players. And then it's like just listening to them. Literally, you could just hear them on the phone, and they have like a closing technique where you're like, wow, like I'm going to do that, right? And just being able to do that. It's powerful. It's really important. More important now than ever.
Totally agree.
Yeah, because now no one goes to the brokerage anymore. Like, so there's no more like sitting next to your coworker and you hear them in the room next door. I don't think that happens in most brokerages anymore because they're all shrinking, right? And pushing everybody out. Like the big brokerages are kind of putting everybody on the street, and then they have like, just small community rooms, it seems like. I don't know if this is what you're hearing from realtors too coming to you. Like, it seems like the culture of a lot of brokerages is starting to break down.
I hear all that stuff. Yeah. And we get a lot of feedback. We're interviewing over the last 6 months, 40 agents a month to come to our company. So, 240 some people, that's just in-office interviews too. It's not, conversations online or emails or whatever. And we're trying to bring on 10 to 12 a month, so 1 in every 4. Like, you try to be as selective as possible because you want to bring in the right people. But yeah, we're also sitting in November right now, which is in the middle of moving season. So
totally,
this is what
season now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But this whole cycle will never change, right? If we come back to really the main point, which was the activities that matter in real estate, I think agents need to do twice the amount of activities right now than they had to 3 years ago.
We do. So we prospect twice to get half of what we used to.
That's crazy.
Right.
Like in mortgage, right?
In mortgage, yeah. But our mortgage went down 70%. Yeah. So we have to do twice to get half. I think most agents probably actually have to do twice to get half, and they don't really realize it.
And what that means is instead of 10 conversations a day, it's 20. Well, to have 20 conversations a day, you have to be on the phones for 3-4 hours.
You got to work.
You have to work. And then the other thing is, in your business and mine, I should say in our industries, we have technology coming in and just creeping in from all sides. You've got the online companies, you've got new ways of transacting, you've got Rocket, you've got Zillow, you've got Open Door, you've got, technology is coming in and making transacting easier for consumers. And some consumers are saying, hey, I don't want to have a traditional real estate agent experience. I just want to buy the house online. I just want to look online, push a button, go see a house and buy it. So times are changing because 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. And if we look at the overall market share and who's doing the transactions, it's starting to push very heavily towards the top producers, because the statistics we shared earlier in this conversation prove it. Pemberton Homes as a company is going to double in size in 2024. Well, it's the worst transactional year since 1995. So we had to put in the double, the triple, the quadruple amount of activities and in order to grow that big, right? But we both know what happens in down markets.
Yeah, this is the time. Yeah, we grew by 50%, like in a down market, right? Lowest first mortgage origination year in 30 years, right? And we also grew by 50%, just like you. This is the bottom year, Twin Cities metropolitan area, year to date, current stat. I don't know if you know this. We're up 0.3% in sales from last year to date. Line in the sand just came out a couple days ago. So 0.3, and you guys are double. So now what's going to happen if we grow by 10? What do you grow by? 35?
Yeah.
And that's without even growing your agents.
Right.
It's just like if the industry grows by 10%, you're just going to have market share. And especially with the top agents. It's so exciting though. Like the digital thing though, that's also reinforcing why the phone, the relationship, the face-to-face, the belly-to-belly is more important now than ever.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that important a couple of years ago because people didn't even want to see you belly-to-belly, right? Like during COVID, they were okay with the text or the phone call or the DM. Now, if you can't compete against that. You can't compete against Zillow. They're so good. Like at marketing, you can't compete. No one can compete against that. So you got to do belly-to-belly.
Right.
Phone, right?
Yep.
Real world relationships is where it's at going forward.
And providing real value to your clients, not this superficial social media stuff. Like you said, you got to go into the trenches and provide real value to your consumers, buyers, sellers, investors, or in my case, agents. You have to be delivering because otherwise someone else will.
Totally. Yeah. You have to be responsive within reason, but you got wiggle room when you're in relationship, right? Like where people are saying clients are expecting me to respond within seconds. It's like, no, you're just not in relationship enough with them. Like when you have a good relationship, they give you that wiggle room, right? Like they, like the only reason why, if you feel like it's so competitive, because you haven't taken the time to build a good enough relationship.
Yeah.
Right. With your past clients or whoever it is that you're going to be, working with. And I think that's the opportunity going forward. Old school with new school support.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like of the database management.
Correct.
Right. You got to have the database management, but you got to do the work. Do you got to do social media? Yeah, but most killer agents actually aren't that great at social media. Kind of funny, here we are, doing this, and I'm saying most killers aren't that great at it because they're good at relationships. You probably see that within your crew too.
For sure, but I would argue, is social media worth our time at your business level and my business level? It's not worth our time to be spending hours on social media each day. Mm-hmm. We can hire people to help us with that.
Yeah. It's
worth our time to continue to deepen those relationships and do the highest dollar productive activity.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be smart too.
Yeah, I agree. Like in my business model, social media is the pinky finger. It's actually the least important. The middle, right? Like the heart of everything is my business partner. Second most important is my database of past clients. Right, because I can add and subtract business partners to close more business. The database is always going to be there if I really nurture and take care of it, and the rest of it I don't even need it. Mm-hmm. Actually, I could cut out social media tomorrow and double my business by just focusing on better relationships.
Of course,
right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of realtors are missing that. So, what's your feeling on the industry, like outside of Pemberton Homes 2025? What's your kind of prediction? Where do you think things are going?
As far as sales, agents, brokerages?
Yeah, sales. Like, what do you think the big, just overall broad market is going to look like?
I think it has to improve. Most markers are showing us that we're going to have an increase in transactions. If not, we know what we got to do next year. The brokerage game is changing dramatically. The team game is changing dramatically. And here's the thing. I just did a talk on this. We've had 3 monstrous peaks to get over. 2020 was COVID. 21 to 20 or 22 to 23 was interest rate dilemma going 8%. I don't have to tell you that. And then we just had the NAR lawsuit hit us. It's almost this mass cleansing of the business. And the ones that are going to be hanging around in 2025 are going to be the most resilient, gritty people that there are. And those people are going to be the ones that are still standing to get the business. So that's why we're driving activities. That's why we're saying, look, control what you can control. I don't even know what the other companies are selling. We're so focused on the road ahead at Pemberton Homes. I truly don't even know what the other real estate teams are doing. At some point, Real Trends will post the numbers and we'll get to see how we did. But we are literally just focused on what can we control today and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the outside factors, the drama, all of the other things in this industry, they don't even get to us. So that's what I would recommend.
You got the blinders on, man.
Right. Yeah.
I think agents need to pay attention to that because most agents, they're like, hey, if I could sell 30 houses a year with today's average sale price, they're like, I can live an amazing life. Well, that's like 2-3 a month. But the market doesn't even matter at that point. You have no market share.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so 2 or 3 a month, like the market, like you can do that right now just with focused activity.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But let's take that a step further. So let's say an agent does sell 30 homes and they have a couple $100,000 to play with. Are we now increasing our lifestyle to $200,000 or are we still living on the same lifestyle and starting to diversify our assets? because most agents will just increase their expenses. And all of a sudden, the second they run into trouble, well, shoot, we don't have any money anymore.
Yeah, I didn't even pay the tax bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys get into that? Like, are you educating them on
Of course.
investment in real estate? You are?
We bring in specialists, all the time. And
does someone just come in and talk about an agent establishing a 401k plan?
And the differences between S corps and other entities, and we talk about buying investment real estate versus the stock market, all sorts of different things. The problem is agents will have that one hot year and they'll make a lot of money, and then they'll buy the car, they'll buy the house, they'll buy the boat. They'll increase their expenditures so that now their lifestyle is this new lifestyle. What I'm challenging people to do is say, hey, let's have that great year, but let's put half of that money away. Let's continue to live on what we've been used to. Let's put that into an asset that can grow for you. Because if you bought a house today, let's say you bought a rental property for $400,000, and let's say it just cash flowed $500 a month. Okay, you were smart. You put your money into an asset that's probably going to grow over the next couple of decades. And let's just look at what real estate's done the last few decades. It's that $400,000 house today is probably $800,000, I don't know, 12 to 15 years from now. Mm-hmm. And then 20 years or 30 years from now, when their mortgage is paid off, they're going to own that house free and clear. And it's probably going to be worth $800 to $1 million, right? Barring any major 07, 08 setbacks, right? So disclaimer there. But now that agent, just from one great year, was able to create $1 million worth of net worth. And now that can be passed down to somebody else, or it could be leveraged to buy more properties or whatever it is. So that's what I want to challenge people to do is, and it's literally what I did. In 2017 to 2020, I bought 15 rental properties and then a commercial building and then, a property in Florida and all these different, houses, right? Well, now I'm set up for the next 30 years because all those mortgages are sitting at 3.5%. Mm-hmm. And my kids are going to have those properties someday too. So I don't have the stress and the anxiety and that kind of that weight on my shoulders because I put that money away. And now I want to help other people do the same thing.
Yeah. I think generational wealth is like so important to think about, and having the security of the assets there. Mm-hmm. For if there is a bad year, you can adjust, you can pivot, right? Mm-hmm. You're not, check to check with, or, swimming in credit card debt or tax bills. Just, I really wish that every agent could go through a budgeting class and be required to fill out a budget every month. Mm-hmm. A budget for your business and a budget for, so P&L in your business, personal budget, to be able to say, are you tracking this every month so you know what's going on, right? Like, this is so important of just being able to say, hey, are you saving, investing 20 to 25% of your net income? Mm-hmm. And wherever you're putting it, real estate, stock market, right? Things as simple as, I'm always amazed on how I talk to agents about, did you know you can start your own 401k plan? Mm-hmm. And they're over here like just deer in headlights to me. And I'm like, I'm a mortgage guy, right? Like, I'm not a financial planner, but you're going to save 35 cents on the dollar if you just took 20 grand and invested it in a 401k mm-hmm. versus, just keeping it as income, right? Well, you get it because you're probably coaching, agents on this. It's really surprising me. Or are you buying rental real estate and cost segregating it mm-hmm. and avoiding taxes? And as an agent, it's such a huge benefit.
It's one big game. It's one big, chess game, right? And that's the way I look at the real estate business. Is it's strategic move after strategic move in an effort to win the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, that might sound silly, but that's what business and life is. And the more strategic, smart moves you can make, the more likely you are to win.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you hit something on the head that once you have your assets set up, the stress of finding the next deal or the stress of a potential down year starts to go away, right? And then you can actually flourish at an even higher level.
Yeah.
When you got your emergency fund funded and you got your real estate and stocks and all of that, all of a sudden you're like, I could have bad years. It doesn't even matter, right? So then all of a sudden, every single deal that comes across my plate, it's like, if I can give it my absolute best, because if I don't get that, if I'm not able to serve that person, it's okay. So then it doesn't come across in desperation. Mm-hmm. which some realtors are desperation selling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And yeah, you just hit it on the head. You're doing it for the right reasons, not to just get into real estate to make money. Right? When you're getting into real estate just to make money, you're inevitably going to run into issues because you never did it for the right reason. And that goes with everything in life. So it's not just real estate.
Hey, it can be a little money motivated, okay? Because I'm money motivated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is like, are you doing the right thing for the consumer?
Yeah.
Like if you're closing this deal just because you're going to get paid, and it is the wrong thing to do for the client, that is a problem, right? Like,
yeah, and let me go on the record to say this too. I love money. I love what money can do for you. It's also a tool to live a better life. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make a lot of money. It's when you jump from the car business to real estate because you think that real estate's going to, be an easier business to make more money.
Yeah.
Well, you never got into it for the right reason. And not to hate on, car guys, but that's just an example. It can be anything in comparison.
Yeah, I totally agree. Man, I could talk to you all day on this stuff. It's so awesome, but we're running out of time. So if an agent wants to talk to you, like about just exploring their options, or maybe you just give them some advice, what would be the best way for them to be able to get a hold of you?
Reach out direct. I'm pretty easy to find. Social media,
You have a phone number you can throw out there?
Facebook. Yeah, for sure. My email is parker@teampemberton.com. My number is 612-386-8575. And my passion is helping real estate agents. So I did a talk in Miami a couple weeks ago, and it was a very similar conversation. I had 20 people reach out about drinking, right? And I'm helping people get better in multiple different ways. And if I'm not the best person to talk to, I'm going to send you to somebody that is. I just want to see people getting better together, and I want to be that kind of that beacon that's just leading by example.
I love that. Well, thank you for your time. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.